Without a doubt, all the things that have been said about Kyrie Irving are warranted. He's controversial, he misses a lot of games, and he's expecting another long-term contract this offseason. All of those things are true, but I think it pales in comparison to the reality that Luka Doncic really needed some help in Dallas, which makes total sense, because after losing Jalen Brunson in free agency last summer, the Mavericks have asked Luka to carry an unsustainable offensive burden. His 37.6% usage rate isn't only the highest in the NBA this season, but also the 5th highest single-season number in NBA history. Plus, Luka also actually made it clear that he wanted to have another star-level talent alongside him. Then now enter Kyrie Irving, who's not just any ordinary star, but who's exactly the type of elite talent who can bear any kind of offensive burden alongside Doncic. Even in the midst of another controversial season, Kyrie is still producing 35.7 points per 100 possessions, which ranks in the 94th percentile of the entire NBA. That's a number which is significantly more than what Spencer Dinwiddie had posted prior to being traded to Brooklyn, and also more than what Jalen Brunson averaged for the Mavs last season. Again, there are definitely concerns with Kyrie Irving's track record in terms of availability and reliability. However, in a Western Conference that feels so competitive and yet up in the air up to this point, I definitely understand why the Mavs took this kind of gamble. But most importantly, when examining the on-court fit between Luka and Kyrie, I'd actually argue that it's a pretty good fit as well. So what's good, everyone? It's Real Balls here, and in this video, we'll break down why Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving together are bound to shock the entire NBA. But one sec, if you guys happen to enjoy this video, please do me a favor by hitting that like button. It only takes a second of your time, but it will be much appreciated. So let's get to it. Well, I definitely can't blame people who are projecting this Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving tandem as easily the most blatant your turn, my turn kind of pairing in the NBA today. However, I don't really think it's going to be the case, and honestly, I'm not really sure where the on-court concerns come from. Well, no question, both guys love to have the ball in their hands, and that's especially true for Luka Doncic. This season, Luka leads the entire NBA in time of possession with the ball, while also ranking second in terms of seconds per touch and dribbles per touch. But on the other hand, Irving isn't close to producing any of those numbers despite being a superstar level talent. In fact, this season, Kyrie is actually tied with Spencer Dinwiddie, only ranking 22nd in time of possession in the entire NBA, while also just ranking 41st and 53rd in terms of seconds per touch and dribbles per touch. To me, it feels like people have just been making a big deal out of Kyrie's extremely flashy isolation game while turning him into some sort of a dribble god who can't fit alongside Luka. But I think that's not supposed to be the case. Cause I think, first, on the most basic level, Kyrie's ability to shoot off the catch and how opponents treat him like a top-of-the-line scoring threat unlike Spencer Dinwiddie should immediately open up scoring opportunities not only for himself, but also for the entire Mavs roster. Once Luka starts to initiate pick and rolls in the half-court, you can put Kyrie in the corners as a spot-up threat, and weak-side defenders would have no choice but to close out hard on him. This season alone, before being traded to Dallas, Kyrie's been converting 38% of all his catch-and-shoot three-point attempts, and has also made at least 40% of his spot-up threes in each of the past 6 NBA seasons. But the most interesting part about his fit with Luka is that Kyrie's far from just being a stationary catch-and-shoot guy when he's off the ball. He's also a very smart cutter who's well-versed in terms of utilizing pin-down screens to free himself up and to get into open spots on the floor. Once Doncic is double-teamed in the high post, or once the Mavs big men start running dribble handoffs, you can expect Kyrie to make defenses pay. As this season alone, he's producing 1.4 points per possession out of cuts to the basket and 1.12 points per possession while shooting coming out of off-ball screens, both of which rank at least in the 80th percentile of the entire NBA. Which is why I can definitely see Kyrie thriving within those Chicago actions that the Mavs love to run, which is basically a set play wherein an offensive player receives a pin-down screen before flowing into a handoff. Just like here, Ben Simmons sets up TJ Warren on the high post, but simultaneously on the weak side, you can see Kyrie move in and slip in past the off-ball screen from Simmons. Now he catches the handoff and runs to the paint before hitting the 10-foot pull-up in front of Lauri Markkanen. Then here, Simmons sets up the half-court offense for Brooklyn. Then again on the weak side, you can see Kyrie using the Kevin Durant and the Nick Claxton pin-down screens to get a head start against his defender. Simmons finds him in the open lane, and Kyrie casually drains the one dribble pull-up with 2 defenders on his face. Now finally, this is during Kyrie's Mavs debut. You see Theo Pinson running the point, and on the weak side, Kyrie uses the Christian Wood screen to get into space. Now he gets a favorable switch against Zubac, so he settles for the easy 15-foot jumper. But aside from those kinds of actions, I think we can also expect Kyrie to be an able screener for Doncic as well. He's got plenty of experience screening for bigger ball handlers and running inverted pick and rolls alongside LeBron and Durant in the past. And although those inverted ball screens from KD and Kyrie this season have produced underwhelming numbers at just 0.88 points per possession, I think Kyrie's screening for Luka should be different. Doncic is a much better passer than Durant, so Kyrie should have more productive short roll opportunities in Dallas both as a scorer and as a passer. Here you can see Kyrie setting the on-ball screen for Durant. Watch how he slips past the pick and roll defense as KD finds him on the short roll. He's got Miles Turner in front of him, so he makes the right read by swinging the ball to Markieff Morris for the corner three-point shot. Again, here you see Kyrie setting the high screen for Durant. He goes for the short roll and doesn't even have to dribble as he hits the easy mid-range jumper. So now imagine Kyrie running those kinds of actions with Luka while they're being surrounded by able shooters like Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, or Christian Wood. The Mavs would just be a difficult cover for any team. But the thing is, the Mavs' formula for success has always required beating opponents when Doncic is on the floor and basically just trying to stay afloat and not fall apart when he's on the bench. However, with Kyrie's arrival, the team's ceiling, even without Luka, just significantly got better. Well, sure, Spencer Dinwiddie flourished playing in Dallas, but he just didn't have the juice to carry the Mavs offense when Luka rested. Before the trade, Dallas only scored 109.1 points per 100 possessions, basically a mark that's dead last in the NBA with Dinwiddie on the floor while Luka sat on the bench. But in theory, Kyrie should provide a significantly higher end source of supplementary scoring than Dinwiddie, which is supported by the fact that when Kyrie played without Durant on the floor in Brooklyn this season, the Nets still produced 120 points per 100 possessions, ranking in the 93rd percentile of the entire NBA. First, let's talk about isolations because that's what Dallas has heavily relied on this season. The Mavs lead the entire NBA in both isolations per game and isolations per 100. Naturally, Luka Doncic also leads the NBA in isolations per game and he's actually producing 1.16 points per possession in isolations, which is the 6th highest mark among all guards who run at least 5 ISOs per game this season. But to double up on that, the Mavs have added Kyrie Irving, who actually leads all guards in that isolation category with 1.28 points per possession. Obviously, Kyrie's one of the best offensive creators in the entire league. His handle has arguably been the best in the NBA for the longest time, and that allows him to get wherever he wants to on the floor whenever he wants to get there. And it's not like Kyrie's been this efficient of an ISO scorer just recently either. He's actually been this elite for as long as we can remember, as over the past 4 seasons, Kyrie has actually generated 1.12 points per possession on all his isolations, which ranks first among all 38 players with at least 1,000 isolations within that span of time. But with Kyrie expected to have his own share of on-ball reps in Dallas, for sure, we still probably shouldn't expect Luka Doncic to suddenly work off the ball that much. But I think an offensive creator as special as Kyrie comes with enough accolades to at least help address the Mavs' over-reliance on Doncic. And by accolades, I'm talking about the fact that Kyrie's been averaging 26 points and 6 assists over the past 7 NBA seasons. And this season alone has also been leading the NBA in fourth quarter scoring, and so far in 67 clutch minutes, has produced 65 points with a 12:4 assist to turnover ratio. As it appears, Kyrie's arrival in Dallas should be for the better, especially if that means that Luka could have much more left in the tank during the postseason where his impact is gonna be needed the most. But with all of that said, the question is, how will this all work out on the other side of the floor? The Mavs have the NBA's 9th worst defense, and they just traded away their best multi-positional defender in Dorian Finney-Smith. And with all due respect, neither Kyrie or Markieff Morris can replace what he brings. So I think this is where Reggie Bullock is expected to step up in the Mavs' defensive pecking order, which is fine because he's a solid and reliable perimeter defender. But most importantly, this trade represents a bigger vote of confidence for third-year wing Josh Green, who's taken a step forward this year as a multi-positional defender for the Mavs. Overall, Bullock and Green need to become reliable defenders from the point of attack, while in theory, Christian Wood and Dwight Powell need to hold their own as help side rim protectors, all while the team's waiting for versatile defender Maxi Kleber to come back at 100% on the court. Well, for sure, some people would say that Dallas could have waited for the offseason to acquire a co-star that would be a better fit with Luka, because by that time, the Mavs could have offered all 7 of their available first-round picks for whoever that guy may be. But I think Dallas understood the fact that only so so many superstars are made available in the NBA free agent or trade market at any given time, while so many young teams like the Thunder, the Rockets, the Jazz, or the Knicks are loaded with more assets. Ultimately, the Mavs would have lost a bidding war against any of those teams for a superstar talent, which means that Dallas' only realistic way to land a star was trading for someone so flawed in the eyes of many, such as Kyrie Irving, that teams wouldn't want to give up so much for him. Dallas needed to trade for Kyrie right there and then, and they actually did, so given the circumstances, I'd say that this is definitely a huge win for the Mavs. So thank you guys if you made it this far into the video, but let me ask you, are you actually sold on the Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving tandem in Dallas? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Real Balls, have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.